Hey there, this is Dr. Pam Perry, and we have another show on Get Out There and Get Known. Everybody wants to know how to get out there and get known. So basically, you need a story. So we have a storyteller today who's written for Ebony, theGrio, All Hip Hop, The Root. She's written for a lot of publications online as well as physical print publications. But she's a storyteller at heart. So if you want to know how to get out there, get known, we're going to listen to today Biba the Diva. You can find her on Instagram. But really, she's a veteran journalist that has really been telling stories. And you want to know and listen to how do you pitch a journalist? How do you get their attention? How do you chase them all around the internet in order to get them to write a story about you? So we'll talk about that right after this. We'll bring up Biba Adams.
Welcome to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast. Join Pam Perry, veteran PR strategist, Emmy award-winning producer and publisher of Speakers Magazine, who will show you how to crack the code in getting out there to get known. Each week, she either interviews her media friends, PR colleagues, or she just goes solo, offering you strategies on publicity, publishing, and platform building. So listen up to hear how to get booked on media places and on superstar stages. Now, here's your host, Pam Perry.
Hey there. So, Biba, thank you for joining us today. So,
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm going to jump right into it. So, we've been knowing each other for a while, and you know I'm a publicist. That's what we do. And publicists have clients that are very persistent about wanting to get press coverage. And so sometimes journalists or freelance writers will think that we're a little pesty, but we really want to make sure that our stories are going to be covered. So what is the best way if someone has a story, they really think that, oh my God, this is good for The Root, or this is good for Madame Noir, or this is good for theGrio, or these are good for other, whatever you write, good for Ebony. Of course, everybody wants to be in Ebony. So what is the best way for someone to reach out to pitch you for a story? Because I've done it. I followed you around on Twitter. I followed you around on LinkedIn. I've been in your DMs and Instagram, which I'll let people know that they can actually go up to your Instagram as well. That's where they'll do. So what is the best way for people to actually reach out to a journalist?
Well, I want to say first, thanks for having me, and thank you for your mentorship. Over these many years, I've enjoyed knowing you and working with you and even working for you back in the day. So thank you so much for that. I think I would want to break it down kind of into categories. So if it's a product, if it's an event, or if it's like a person.
Okay.
And so kind of understanding first, if it's a product, got to be honest, we like free stuff. So if you send us one of the products, we're more likely to, be able to find a place for it. So that is kind of high on my priority list.
Well, let me stop you right there and put a pin there for the product. So I worked for an agency years ago, and the product that we worked for was two. One was McDonald's, the other was Dunkin' Donuts. So what we would do on National Coffee Day, we would drive all around to all the different TV and radio stations and give them Dunkin' Donuts and coffee, right? Because the coffee that people think of sometimes first is always Starbucks, but Dunkin' Donuts has good coffee too. So anyway, so National Coffee Day, we make sure we go and give them gallons of coffee, right? The other one was McDonald's. When they have a new sandwich, I don't know, McRib, whatever. We would go and actually deliver these. Now, this was back in the day, so I don't know if guards and things like that would let you bring in food, but we would say, hey, we have some kind of things, especially for radio stations. Radio stations were there for 4 hours, and they can kind of say, oh, this food is good or whatever. So yeah, that is so true. And for products, any kind of products, whether it is makeup or jewelry, whatever, that is really, really key. So you can even say books in a way, because
a lot of authors, books.
Yeah, authors don't like to part with their books, and I'm like, listen, you gotta send these books out if you want coverage. So you need to give me a case of books that we can send to people.
Yeah,
so that is really key. Okay, so
one of the things that I do a lot of is lists. So I might not write a full feature story about the product or the person or whatever, but I might do a list of like 10 Black owned, perfumes, or 10 new authors that you should know. And so those things are still going to get you some ink and get you some eyes. And so I wouldn't undervalue the relevance of listicles either.
Yes, I love listicles. So you said ink, eyes, and ears. Let's think about that too.
Sure, yeah.
Ink, eyes, and ears. So we can just
I
kind
like
of
that.
put that together, like ink, eyes, and ears. So you want to make sure that you're going to get that, and it may not be the main feature story, but you could be in a listicle. So the top 10 gifts for the holidays, something like that. For Black owned, like you said, Black owned stores that are in the Detroit area. That's a really good list. And listen, if they aren't doing listicles, say if Biba isn't doing a listicle, but suggest the idea. It doesn't have to be on you, and say, hey, I'd like to know, Black August was National Black Business Month. Hey, I don't know if you're doing a list of the top Black restaurants. I'm a restaurant. I'd like to know if you're doing a store. I'd like to be included. That's simple enough.
And I would even say maybe adding a couple of like, here are some, other not competitors, but some other entities that occupy the same kind of space that I'm in. Those things are helpful to have a comparison, or give you a head start for work.
Good. I love that. So products, make sure that you're doing that listicles and making sure you're sending out the product to the actual journalist. And how they're reaching out to you could be her Instagram, could finding their email list. A lot of publicists use different services, whether it's Cision, whether it's Muck Rack. I personally like to use LinkedIn because I can see how frequently they're updating things, and I can find out a little bit more about their personality versus a big database with like 20, 30,000 names in it, and you don't even know if they're still there. So that's why I kind of like to go with real time. So that's one way. So what's the second way? If they have a if it's their brand, if their personal brand.
Yeah, a personal brand, right? So that's like writing about a person. I think one of the things that people don't understand is like when we're publishing things, or when we're writing things that we have to submit, we're submitting up the ladder. So I might love your product or your event or you as a person, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to translate for my editors. And also, one of the kind of deciding forces in that is the same for like people or events, is that where is it leading the audience? So what is the purpose in this? Is it leading, just write about me because I'm, pretty? Like, no, that doesn't move the needle. So if it's not leading to something for people to do and some type of call to action, then it's not going to run. It's just not
something people even care about. Then the one thing that you said, something about moving the needle. So media has changed a little bit, where social media has kind of like technology has wrecked a whole lot of different fields. So in terms of media, are they really interested in what other media you have been in, or how big your social media following is, or how popular you are online? Is that a determining factor of whether a story will get coverage, whether it's an event, if it's an event that's just starting the first year versus an event that's maybe in its 10th year, which one will get more news coverage?
Yeah.
If it's a brand new, maybe because it's brand new, you're telling the story about it. By the 10th year or the 20th year, it's like, okay, so what else can we say new other than maybe you got a new keynote speaker? I mean, what can you do on those things?
Yeah, so I would say significant dates like the 1st, the 5th, the 10th, the 20th. Those things might have a little bit of reach. I don't think it comes down to size of social media following, etc. I think more than anything, it is whether or not it's too regional. So you might not be able to get national press because your product or the person is too regional. So it's not something that is going to resonate with somebody in California if this person is, only in Detroit, only doing business in Detroit. And so that's one thing that has an impact on national media. So kind of the relevance understanding the audience and knowing the relevance for that audience.
So the question asks, so when someone is too local or too regional and they want to get national, because when they actually start coming to me, they're like, the first thing that they want to do is they want to make sure that they're going to get national, right? Like, I want to get on CNN, I want to get on The Root, I want to, and it's like, okay, but let's kind of like make some noise in your own backyard. So how would you advise someone who is just starting out and saying, well, I'm just starting out, I want to get more known and get out there, but no one knows me, so let me just go national first, because that's the quick they think that's the magic wand. They think that's the magic wand. That's the quickest way to get out there, right? It's like, woo woo. Then Pam knows Biba. She could have Biba put me in the root. It's like, no, we're not going to use our hookups like that. You got to be a little bit more, like you said, about their audience. So talk to us about.
Yeah, I would say build your national following. Like, if I can't Google you and find, a couple of local pieces on you, or somewhere you've been, on YouTube, or, something to that effect, I'm not going to think that this is, something that I want to invest in. And that varies. Sometimes there's a topic that is very timely. I do get a lot of requests from like people who are experts on things, and they want to be interviewed. Are you doing a story about race and the election? Here is Dr. So-and-so who could, be a good resource. Sometimes that works. And sometimes, I'm just in a space where I'm between gigs. I'm really, like, even now I'm not fully employed at one outlet or the other. And so kind of I get pitches all day, every day, but it may not be what I'm going to invest time in, because I'm only going to get paid if it gets published.
Right.
And so
that part right there.
Yeah, those are things to definitely keep in mind. Kind of knowing your audience, start off local. I tell people that all the time when they ask me for advice. Start off local, and do start with your social. If you want to be seen as an expert in some particular thing, then you should have clips of yourself on various social media channels discussing that thing, so that your expertise comes through. So those are things that are kind of key for me.
Those are the things that I tell my clients, but they don't believe me. So listen to someone who's a veteran journalist, who's a freelance writer, that says you do need to create maybe that podcast. You do need to be regular on YouTube. You do need to really post regular content or newsletters or articles in different trade journals. Those things matter, because what she said, when I Google you, where are you? Is she going to find you? And what are you saying? So that is really, really key. And so let's talk a little bit about why you do what you do. So let's talk about why you could have did anything else. You got a gift for words. You could have sat down at somebody's publishing house and just edit manuscripts all day, or you just could write technical journals, or anybody. I mean, there's so many things that people can do that have a way with words, right? So you chose to write. For what reason? And then the type of outlets, because you've written for hip hop, the theGrio, The Root, different Black Ebony. So what is driving Biba?
Yeah, I would say it started off. I mean, I've been a writer since I was a young kid. But I also had a child young. So I had my daughter at like 18, 19 years old. And so kind of a lot of my decisions after that, as many single parents will tell you, were kind of just driven on, I got to make, something happen so I have had every job. I've been a bank teller. I've been I tell people I've been everything but a lion tamer. And but I kind of rediscovered myself when it came to my passion for hip hop music and culture, especially here in Detroit. I found that there was a sort of we had a camaraderie that was like something I had never experienced before. And it just so happened to be at a great time when, Eminem was blowing up, and,
Mm-hmm.
D12 and everybody else. And so I kind of fell in at a really interesting time. And because I began to be known that I could write, and particularly bios, which are still, people definitely still seek me out for that service. I began to write a lot of the artist bios. And so whether it was, Slum Village or Proof or Race 59, like I was just writing a lot of artist bios. And then I became kind of known on a national level for writing about Detroit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I moved out of Detroit and I moved
Right.
to Atlanta after the the 2000 during the 2008 recession. And so I began to write a lot about their music scene. And that just opened, because of how big it is, and it just opened me up further and further to more and more opportunities. Um, and so, but like you said in your introduction, at the end of the day, I love telling stories. I consider my work quite compelling. And I didn't go to school for journalism. I have a degree in history. And
All
so
right, all right. So you're just interested in how things work and where they started and the origin story. Like, where's the origin of this? Where is this going? Okay,
oh
all right.
gosh, yes, that's a big part of my drive, and the
And being
research,
curious and being, yeah,
And
like
yeah.
doing the research, being curious about all those things. And I tell people that journalists, when you find them, especially print journalists, our December issue of Speakers Magazine is going to talk about print, and the national editor and publisher named the National Publisher of the Year, which was Amsterdam News, and that's Eleanor. And so Eleanor has family has had it over 140 years, I believe it is. 1909 was the year they started. And but the whole thing about the Black press and print and telling stories is something that will never go away. We've got to tell the stories from generation to generation. And whether it is in the form of a bio, which I'm so glad you're saying bios, because that is like such a key marketing piece for yourself by having a bio, a good bio, right? Not a bio that sounds like an obit, but a bio that sounds like somebody wants to meet you.
Yeah.
But the other person that's in there is NNPA, National Newspaper Publishers Association. It's only like about 200 or 300 print newspapers. There's a lot of online. I think it's Bocini. I was talking with it's in Lansing, the New Citizens Press. The New Citizens Press is in Lansing. She's been around since 2003 or 4. It's a Black newspaper. And she was just saying that it's really a lot harder for print to really thrive now because of the digital, but you got to combine the two, and so many have. Even if, I used to work at the Free Press, it's gated now. I mean, you could buy it on the stand or you can actually buy it online. It's like, oh, okay, well, why would I buy it online? Yeah, that's how we do it now. If you're going to read a story in New York Times, it's like, nope, you got to subscribe. So that's really, really key. But the main thing is that if you find a journalist who is in the journalism field, it's because they love it. They didn't go into it because they want to make a whole bunch of money. I think people who want to make a whole bunch of money, not putting in shade, but like they'll go to medical school, law school, one one of those things, whether they like it or not, right? Like, they're gonna, but people who are creatives, their main thing is to tell a story, to create, to take a blank sheet of paper and put something on it and say, this is my work, versus the high technical going to school for 4 years plus, someone who's a dentist. It's like, do they wake up and say, hey, I really want to work on teeth? Or it's like, oh, that's a really good field. I'm gonna make a lot of money. I put braces on someone that's like $30,000 over their lifetime or whatever. But it is a different type. So when I approach journalists, whether it's say someone like Jamil Hill, when she first started, she did it because she loved journalism. She loved journalism. She had no idea she would grow into the brand of Jamil Hill now, that that basically used to be at ESPN and now she's at the Atlantic. She just did it because she loved journalism. and was and did it and like telling stories and is very truthful about it. I mean, I saw that she was interviewing Charles Barkley, and I was thinking like when she was around in school, I think she went to Redford, I believe it was.
Mumford.
Mumford. She went to Mumford. Okay, I get Redford there. Yeah, Redford is gone. But she went to Mumford. Who would have thought that she would have been interviewing Charles Barkley, right?
Yeah, she's had a very stellar career. She and Kelly,
Yes, Kelly
you
Carter.
know, have had some really outstanding careers, and they both went to school for journalism.
But they loved it though.
Yeah, and they loved it. They had passion for it, and like I said, I definitely found my way to it. It's funny that you mentioned orthodontistry. I actually did want to be a dentist at one point.
Oh my God.
But
now what was the pull for that though? Did you have braces as a kid and you liked the orthodontics?
I didn't end up needing them. But I did go to some appointments, and I just enjoyed the dentist. I thought they were good, good people, and I had good experiences as a kid because I didn't get cavities until I was like 30 something.
Okay.
Yeah, I had strong teeth, but so it's funny that you mentioned that, and I think we all have different pathways. I think one of the things that I've been fortunate to do is I really write about Detroit. I love Detroit a lot. I moved back here 7 years ago after some time in Atlanta, some time in New York City. And being back home, my career has actually really flourished since then by just writing about the city. And so I kind of see, our resurgence and my resurgence kind of, happening. And so it does give me a lot of different opportunities locally and nationally because people like to hear a good Detroit story.
They really do. We've got like that comeback story.
Yeah.
Right? When so I grew up in Detroit. I've been in Detroit my whole life, and so I just kind of feel that Detroit versus everybody Detroit grit, right? And the fist that is on Jefferson on our main street when you first get to our city, right? You get right near the mayor's office and all that. You see the fist. Do you know? For the longest, I really thought that fist meant something else than what it really did. I did not realize.
I'm sure a lot of people do.
I was like, I thought that meant Black Power. They were like, no, it's like this. It's Joe Louis. I was like, oh, okay. I did not realize that. They said, yeah, that's how your mind is. I said, well, I just grew up in Detroit. I just thought that was natural just to have that black fist down there. They're like, no, that's not. That's Joe Louis. I was like, oh, okay. So anyway, I digress. Now, what high school did you go to? Because we talked about Jamel going to Mumford, so they got love from Mumford. What high school did you go to?
I went to second to none, Cass Tech.
There you
Absolutely.
go. So when people go to Cass Tech, people don't understand. When you're from Detroit, you come out of Cass. It's like we are family. This is. I was watching a video from 7 years ago when they tore down the old Cass, right? The old Cass, and all the people came out. They were like, "Why is that a thing? People standing outside?" I said, "No, this is like the Detroit." That's like our Detroit school where people from all across the city can connect. From the music department, the fashion department. I was in business. I don't know what I was doing in business. I couldn't type. It was a horrible experience. I was like, oh my God, I should have been in performing arts. But anyway, I didn't know. But it had so much opportunity for us growing up during that period of time. And of course, the new cast is really good. I think Barack Obama was there, about a month or so ago? Went to Cass Tech? Yeah, he was there on the campaign trail.
So I think it definitely taught me a lot of leadership skills, a lot of independence, and a certain level of like fearlessness.
Yeah.
Because you go through a lot going to Cass, especially at the time when we had seven floors. If your fifth hour is on the first floor, your 6th hour is on the 7th floor, you got 5 minutes to get there.
And you can't get on the elevator because it's only like a couple of them.
You can't get on the elevator, right? So it was definitely an experience.
Were you on the newspaper staff at Cass?
I wasn't. I was a music major, so I played the cello.
Okay, so you were in the you were always in the creative group.
I always was a creative person, but I never locked in to like, okay, I have this talent and this talent can actually make money doing this thing.
Yeah.
And I just don't feel like My mom was like, do whatever you want to do. But I just don't, even in like maybe my guidance counselors, or, they dealing with so many hundreds of people. So I don't feel like I just got that idea, like, okay, this is what you're good at, follow this direction. Because how you going to go to school to be a dentist and you got a D in math,
That part doesn't really, but I can see how your career, where you like writing about lifestyle and entertainment, and how your music background helped with that.
It did, definitely. Yeah, it did, definitely. It definitely did. And even a music education at Cass was beyond instruments. There was a historical component. There was the competitive component. You got to compete with somebody to go up a chair, and the just the passion that comes from musicians and being around so many of them all day, every day. I think that was something that instilled a lot in me. And I actually got to write an article about Cass maybe in 2020 for Universal Music Group. They wanted to write about like the famous music artists that came out of Cass, and the harp and vocal program. And that was a good article, and it paid well too. So
wow.
Thanks, Universal.
Yes. There was one particular teacher, I think she won a Kellogg Award, and she played the violin, Black woman.
Was it Miss Yacht?
Was that her? Angela Yacht? I believe so. And I think she also played in the orchestra. She played Detroit Orchestra. And it was like she taught, and she also played in the orchestra, and she was doing the violin. I was like, what? Because Greg Russell did a mini documentary on her when she won her the Kellogg Award. The Kresge, I'm sorry, not Kellogg, but Kresge Award.
Yeah, Miss Lott and Miss Key in harp and vocal. And there was another harp and vocal teacher that was well known. Because that was a really innovative program, teaching the Black girls how to play the harp, and it had been around for years.
And that is one of the things Janet Williams went to, and she's in the Museum of African American History. She was in the, what did you say, a vocal, what do you call it?
Harp and vocal.
So she was in harp and vocal, and she's now living in Germany singing opera. That's her thing. And it would not have happened if she had not went to Cass, because we grew up in the same neighborhood singing the same church. It's like, how you living in Germany now singing opera? It's because of Cass. So anyway, I always say God doesn't make any mistakes, no matter what area that you're in. If you have a passion for something, or just something that you just gravitated towards, it's because you like those type of people. So the stories that you write about are because you're passionate about it, and you're curious because you want to know the history, you want to know the origin, and you're going to tell the story. So I want people to know that they can actually contact you too. I'm going to put your banner back up here so that they can find you on IG at Biba the Diva, so people will know how to find you there, and they can slide into your DM and actually suggest a story. What happens with freelance writers, they can write for any particular one. If you have a story that you think would be really, really good for theGrio, or if it could be good for The Root or The Essence, or whatever publication, and it's like, you know what, I really think this would be a good story, tell it to Biba and let her figure out how to reach the editor to actually put it together. Now, you don't pay Biba, but you could send her the idea. The publication would pay Biba in terms of like if the story is accepted. So you would pitch her, and then she would put together what they call like a proposal, or basically a suggestion, and just say, hey, this is the kind of thing that I would like to write for you. And then they would accept it or not accept it. And that's really like the main thing.
And so that's what I do definitely for kind of my journalism career. But as a writer, I definitely still provide services. So I'm still doing bios. I really want to ghostwrite a book. I am like ready for, I've had a couple offers, and some things just didn't go through. I was supposed to be helping LaVan Hawkins write a book years ago. So that's a name. Yeah.
I know. I think, did he pass?
Yeah, he passed. He passed a while ago. But so I still have writing services, so editing services. Now those things you do pay for.
Right.
So if it's a service, a service need or a service request, I'm actually kind of rather do that a little bit more right now, just because it's the holidays. Things are going to be super tight getting any ink anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I've actually been kind of local lately. I worked for a city council person.
Okay.
I
They
worked
need
for a
communication.
nonprofit. I worked
Mm-hmm.
for some arts programs. So I've
There you
kind of
go.
just been keeping things super local. And so I, definitely encourage like Detroiters, feel free to shoot me. There's opportunities there. I still freelance, for example, with Metro Times. That's maybe one of my strongest
Mm-hmm.
outlets.
Because it's a
Um,
very, very strong entertainment base as well. Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. And so,
Mm-hmm.
but right now I do want to be able to provide services, because it's writing is something that doesn't come easy to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if that's you, and it's like, okay, I need to put this out here. I need some help or support, and I only needed this one time. Like, I don't need, I might write a press release for someone. They're not looking for me to push it out, as a publicist would do. They just want to craft it.
Yeah.
And so those are some of the things that I'm kind of leaning a little bit stronger toward right now, just to be of service.
I really like the fact what you said about ghostwriting a book. I think most people dream of writing a book. They don't know how to get started. They may even start a few chapters. But I remember Karen Hunter. She's got the Karen Hunter show, and she's on Sirius XM, the Urban View, and all of that. She really just turned the whole thing around. But that was really what she did to a friend of mine. Just hearing her talk about her very first book that she did was for LL Cool J, and she wrote Celebrity books, right? She wrote the books for the celebrities. But the thing that she talked about was so funny. She said because these celebrities were so used to people just like, doing whatever, that they really she said she had to like kind of get with him. She said they really just kind of like to sashay in. It's like, oh, I'm an hour late, like whatever. And, you know, I'm done with this. I don't really, it's like not taking it seriously. And she was like, listen, you got to get this together. And it was LL Cool J. And she said, as they got to know each other, she said she went and told his grandmother. They said he ain't acting right. And his grandmama got with him. And he finished that book. But she went on and she did all the celebrity. I mean, if you look at, she's got an imprint and everything, but she did a lot of that. And they can take a while. I mean, they shouldn't take as long as it took with LL because he was like taking too long, but they can take about 6 months to a year.
Yeah, it takes a lot. I've had some friends who've done it, and kind of getting them to stick to a schedule. It's difficult. They're artists, so that
Yeah.
could be very challenging. I have a relationship with Damon Dash, and I want Damon to write his book so bad, and I just can't pin him down to get it done.
Because they're artists.
We'll talk about it, and then another year go by, and I'm like, Damn, you're not getting any younger. Like, let's put this book down. And
I
so I
get
do
it
have a
now.
couple. Yeah, I have a couple even dream projects. Some people that I would love to collaborate with. And one of the things that I will say, and that kind of should be said, is that is a very competitive market still. And we are finding that a lot of Black writers are being shut out of that space.
Yeah, they
So
are.
you can pick up, you know,
I do. I
um,
look at the bylines of the book is written
yeah,
by and such,
yeah,
and it's never.
and it's generally a white writer, a white male writer at that.
Mhm, mhm.
So
I noticed
if
that. I
we,
don't know if other people do, but I do notice that. And it's like, this book wasn't even written with another Black person. I was like, what is that
yeah,
about? So I will try to
so
change that, Biba. I will recommend you to some artists that I know that need to write their book. One in particular went to Cass. They now live in DC. I won't put her on blast. No, yes, I will. Kim Jordan needs to write her book. so
okay,
so I did put her on blast. She needs to write a book. She used to be the music director for Gil Scott Heron.
wow, wow,
And she loves the art of what she does, music. Writing the book is something that I've been telling her that she needs to do. But because I could probably help her do it, but I don't have the same what you just said about the artist pinning them down and understanding their mindset of how they work and roll. Because I'm like, girl, let's just do it. But she was in music major at Cass at Howard. Music has been her life. So to sit down and write a book is so intimidating. Like,
right,
But
absolutely.
but
For
you
most
could
people,
actually help her.
yeah,
But you
for
could
most
actually help
people, I've written that, and it's been hard to get published. I also I'm re-exploring my passion for fiction. I like urban fiction. You'd be surprised. I like a good hood book, like something that looks like a No Limit record album cover, and it's hood girl
Sylvia
loves
Hubbard.
teacher son.
Oh my
I don't
God.
know what it is about them. Something about them that they're like eating junk food a little bit, but
it is like eating junk food. Donald Goins
yeah.
back in the day is what I used to read back when that was like one of the main things. It's like my mother caught me reading Donald Goins books. It's like, what are you doing reading those books? It was like, like you said, they were hood books. It's like Sylvia Hubbard writes a lot of urban fiction, that kind of thing. She's from Detroit, the Motown Writers Group, and that's one of the things that she puts together. So yeah, I can see that is a whole genre by itself, but it also is part of like the hip hop culture as well. So that kind of like I can see how you're doing that. And Gil Scott Heron, he wasn't really,
if we look at what's
culture.
happening nationally with people banning our books, burning our books, if we don't embrace our story and hold on to our narrative, somebody else will. Somebody else will tell the story of who we are and what we did on this earth, and
that's true.
And already are, so it's very important. It's very key. So, if it's in your heart burning to, put it down, at least start notes, and then it's hard. I have a couple people who wanted me to write a book with them, and, something come up, you're like, okay, let's get started. And it's like, my foot, I got to go. I'm like, listen, either we're going to do it or we're not going to do it.
That's the way I am. We've got to get it done. Well, it has been really, really good talking with you, because it is really, I'm going to send you the information for Kim Jordan.
Yes.
For her to get the book done, but they can also just make sure they reach out to you on Instagram. Bios are very, very important. Oh my God. Those are some of the things that people need. They're not just a thing. It says, thank you, Ingrid. Ingrid says, I am definitely locked in. This is great. Thank you, Ingrid.
Hey, Coco.
That's Coco.
Oh, that's Coco. Hey, boo.
She is that. So it's too many things over here. Like, it's like I'm watching this is streaming, that kind of thing. So it's like I'm putting different things down here. But I want to make sure that I put that up there. So Coco Ingrid, Detroit radio maven, comedian, all things creative. Matter of fact, I think I saw her not too long at the Fox, and I was trying to get her to get onto stages to speak more. And so obviously authors speak and speakers write. So they, you got to get the book and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so we push people, we're the people that's like behind the scenes pushing you to get out there, get known, more known. She's already known, but get more known. So that's really like the main thing. It's a gift. It's a gift to really want, when you see stories in people and you just like, okay, they need to have that story told here, or they need to meet this person. That's something that is just innate to creatives to want to do that. And the main thing is just to tell a good story. Tell a good story. Make sure it's interesting and it's authentic. It's authentic. So want people to know they can reach you at IG at Biba, the Diva.
Yeah.
Make sure you do that there. And then I thank you so much for joining us today on the Get Out There, Get Known show, because this has been really, really good. And I will get in touch with you and give you that other information that I was talking about. All righty. Thank you.
Good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So again, if you want to get out there, get known, it starts with a good story, starts with a good word, starts with a good writer. Diva is really good at that. If you want to know about how to, even like get a story told into some other outlets as well. Right after this, I will tell you a little bit more about the quick media coverage.
Are you ready to get noticed? Pam Perry PR's quick media coverage service is here to put you in the spotlight. Just tell us your story and we'll tell the world. Our team of journalists will craft compelling stories about you, featuring captivating photos and links to your website and social media. Choose 1, 2, or 3 stories and see yourself on high-traffic news sites. Be seen, be in the news. With quick media coverage, your unique and newsworthy story gets the attention it deserves. Visit PamPerryPR.com. That's PamPerryPR.com and get started today.
One of the things I want to say about long form stories, I call them long form stories, is that I had a client today that was featured in the U.S. Reporter, took that same link, sent it to a podcaster. They read his story. It was about 1,500 words, talking about his ATM method, about classroom management, and he got booked on a podcast. So when you have stories that are written, you can then share it with a podcast, a television station, a producer, an editor, because now media begets media. I say that all the time. On my blog, PamPerryPR.com/blog, I talk about once you get media, how there's 10 ways to really leverage that media. 10 ways, actually there's more than 10, but at least 10 that you can do once you have a story written on you, whether it's the Women's Journal, which we're doing a Black Friday special for that, whether it's in Speakers Magazine. It's something that people can actually see and read, but it has to tell a story. It crafts the story so that the podcaster, for the radio interview, for the television producer to actually put that together for you. So I can't emphasize enough having a book, having a story written about you, and then even having a story written about your book. How about that? So one of the things you want to do is go to PamPerryPR.com, go there, check it out. You get your story written within less than a week. Get it out there, get known. So with that, I will see you. Thanks for joining. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you next week.
You've been listening to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast, brought to you by PamPerryPR.com, where you'll get insider tips on how to build your platform, pitch the media, and promote yourself with confidence. Head over to PamPerryPR.com and get the exclusive video training on the 7 must-have marketing materials you need before you pitch in order to be considered in media places or superstar stages. PamPerryPR.com, where you help you shine like a superstar.